Justin Turner story, which has everybody shaking their heads this morning, shaking their heads at the greatness of Tom Brady as he wakes up this morning, 43 years and 86 days old, and is right there in the MVP conversation. I want to just give his stats.
Old man Tom.
No doubt. I want to give his stats relative, not to other players, because certain players have different styles, right? You really compare Russell Wilson and Tom Brady to Patrick Mahomes, right? But basically, through almost halfway through the season, not quite yet, 1,910 yards, so on pace for a 4,000-yard season at the age of 43, 18 touchdowns, 4 picks. We're asking you this morning on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed, Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin Nation, who's the MVP? 54% of you say Russell Wilson. However, I recognize this guy. At Dan Orlovsky 7, our colleague, NFL analyst.
Who's he have now? Josh Allen?
Josh Allen through the first 4 weeks, but he is weighing in on the Dr. Pepper Twitter feed, friend of the program. He said it's Tom Brady needs to be in whatever pool, but it's AR right now. So we've got 54 of you saying Wilson. We're maybe making the case for Tom Brady. Dan Orlovsky, who spent a dozen years playing quarterback in the National Football League, saying maybe Brady, definitely Rodgers in the pole position at the moment. Fellas, I just gave you the numbers here on Tom Brady. It goes beyond numbers. There's also a storyline aspect to it, right? 43, nobody thought he could do it, doing it without Belichick. Key, what are your thoughts?
Dan and I both know a lot of football.
Yes, you do.
Because I said Aaron Rodgers is the leader of the pack. Russell Wilson fell behind, and Tom Brady is in there somewhere. I think Aaron Rodgers is doing a little bit more with less, although head-to-head matchup between Brady and Rodgers, Brady got the best of that situation, whatever the case may be. I think when you look at it, Tom Brady's playing phenomenal football. There's no question about it. He has some nice toys to play with, some weapons that are there. He's vintage Tom Brady for me, right? He's in the mix. Russell Wilson fell out of my first place because of the 3 interceptions against Arizona. I don't anticipate him to continue to throw picks. No, I don't anticipate that. But that particular game pushed him down for me. Aaron Rodgers came back with Devontae Adams fully healthy and went nuts. So my first thought process and looking at it and my eyes telling me, oh, this dude here is ridiculous. But I also got Patrick Mahomes in there, because Patrick Mahomes is doing some good things in Kansas City. You just don't know how his numbers are going to end up in the end of the year. But we're talking about Tom Brady. We're talking about Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson's in the mix just because he's the reigning MVP. But we're not talking about Ben Roethlisberger. And I know Ben Roethlisberger threw 3 interceptions against Tennessee, but they're undefeated.
In the second half.
In the second half, but they're undefeated. They won the game. And he's been playing pretty good football. To me, there's no real difference it may be a difference in style, but what he means to his team, most valuable player to his team, right? That the MVP is about the team and what you do for your team and how you moving things along. So when I look at Ben, I'm like, if we're gonna be pushing Tom Brady, what's wrong with Ben Roethlisberger? I mean,
I'm with Ben being in the conversation. I'm with Kyler Murray being in the conversation with the way he's been playing.
Kyler Murray,
he's on the back end of the conversation. He's not at the top, but he's in that conversation. I will say this is why I think Tom Brady is going to make a push. For some reason, just the number 4 is ingrained in my head when I think about Tom now, because against Chicago, 4th down. But
he was just saying we got 4 chances to get it in.
I get it. Versus the Raiders, he threw for 369 yards, right? 4 TDs, 0 interceptions, 1 rushing TD. But get this, key, his last 9 games remaining on the schedule, Brady will play Atlanta twice. Okay, they own the 2nd worst pass defense in the NFL. The Vikings, 4th worst, and favorable matchups against the Giants and the Lions. So I can see him making a big push because of the weapons and getting Antonio Brown and that spark. I think Russell Wilson is going to be in a very interesting situation because their defense is not good. So they have to outsling people. I think Russ is going to have to take a lot more chances offensively as they get to the beef of some of their schedule. I still see, I think it's between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has the best TD to INT ratio in the league with 16 touchdowns and only 1 interception thrown. And for some reason, he has a statement game against Baltimore to me. That game stands out.
But see, it was the beginning of the season. And recency bias.
But it's a statement game. It's a colossal matchup.
But I don't even remember that game. Like
I do.
It was week 2, right? I'm a voter. I don't remember that game. I remember what's in front of me.
So what game stands out for you with Aaron Rodgers? What would stand out for me and Aaron Rodgers? Well, for today, just today, was last week. But 5 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, there's gonna be other games. And what I'm saying is, it's hard to remember Patrick Mahomes against Baltimore when he was favorite in that game. It wasn't like all of a sudden he had to go nuts to win the game. If Kansas City I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but in signature win comes in week 13 or something wild like that on a Monday night. They play Brady in week 12.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
I'd say week 13. Week 12, they got Brady. Now, all of a sudden, that's toward the end of the voting. Now you go out there and you do what you do. Now you jump ahead because on the national stage, we are watching that matchup. Young versus old, Brady versus Mahomes, MVP versus 6-time Super Bowl champion, passing the mantle, the torch, all that stuff that they drum up. And that's when you start to say, okay, Patrick Mahomes is catching some steam. Russell Wilson is going to have to, obviously, much like Jay-Z, Lord have mercy.
Jay-Z.
Jay Will.
J&Z.
Jay Will said is that he's going to have to do a little bit more because the defense has struggled at times this year, although I think the defense gets better as the weather turns. People don't go and throw the ball against them as much, that things will slow down. He's got to do some Russell Wilson 4-touchdown type, 350-yard type games to keep that momentum going. I think he loses a little bit of the momentum because of the 3-interception game against Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals.
There's also the anecdotal aspect of it. This is a sports talk radio show, so we speculate, we talk.
No, I don't speculate.
You talk in definitive tones. That you certainly do. Last year, Lamar Jackson, this is a point you brought up yesterday on the program. Many people thought Lamar Jackson should not have been drafted in the first round. He shouldn't have been a quarterback. He should have been a wide receiver.
I could have taught him how to play receiver.
But then he ended up becoming a unanimous MVP, and that story was just too juicy to ignore. When everybody said, don't do it, despite the guy winning the Heisman Trophy, he turns around and he balls out like nobody else. It's a great story. On the same corollary,
play wide receiver.
Right? Even some of the best, most respected football minds said that. Right?
Yeah. And you know, Bill Polian said it on my show in L.A.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I was like, Bill
Polian,
are you sure you want to say that?
He built multiple, for listeners that aren't aware, this guy built multiple legendary franchises. He's in the Hall of Fame as a talent evaluator.
But the problem, and Bill's one of my good general manager friends and stuff like that. One of the problems is when you are accustomed to a certain style.
Right.
Big, strong in the pocket, look a certain way. Jim Kelly, Peyton Manning, Kerry Collins. That's just his style. And there's nothing wrong with his style, but damn, Bill.
Right. Now you should mention those quarterbacks were specifically mentioned because he built the Buffalo Bills. He built the Indianapolis Colts.
Carolina.
With those 3 QBs. But on the same token, Lamar,
Peyton Manning,
great story. Brady at 43 years old, doing this, defying the age of time, doing it minus Belichick. He's flourishing. Belichick is sagging. All of that adds up to it. There's a storyline component. Remember, these are writers that are voting, and writers love stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And much like you just said, and I didn't really even think about that till you said it, Zubin, the storyline. Belichick's over there suffering with Cam Newton, and you're going to the beach after practice. I mean, it's,
Until the Pats beat the Bills this weekend, and then things can change.
But think about it. He's over there struggling with Cam, and Brady practices and then heads to Clearwater Beach.
It's fair. It's fair, for sure. We'll see what happens. Big spot, as Jay said, litmus test game for both New England and Buffalo. World Series talk in 1 minute, and boys, there's plenty to talk about. But first, let's go from A to Z.
From New York to L.A. and everywhere in between. From A to Z.
From A to Z is brought to you by Redbox, now available at Redbox, an edge-of-your-seat action thriller that can't be missed. Rent Ava, starring Jessica Chastain. Visit Redbox.com for all the ways to watch. The Dodgers bringing their second championship title to Los Angeles in a span of 16 days. Keys Lakers did it first. Keys Dodgers did it most recently. A 3-1 win over the Rays last night to win the World Series in 6. And Dave Roberts at the helm for 5 years, only spent 5 years in the City of Angels, certainly knows what this means for this city.
It's a great cap to the Lakers and now the Dodgers. this is a time of healing for everyone in our country, but specifically Los
Shut up and let me answer. No. When I go into the locker room, there's no leadership void in my eyes.
He ever talk to you like that, Key?
No.
Imagine he told Key to shut up like that.
But
hand me some baby powder.
No, we good. I ain't gonna smack him. He all good.
And that's A to Z. How about a little
I like
MLB?
Jerry, man. Jerry cool.
Unbelievable. Another home run.